This Shabbos, the 10th of Shvat, we commemorate 75 years since the passing of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe and the ascension of our Rebbe as the leader of our generation. In this week's Parsha B'Shalach, we read about how the Jewish people left Egypt biyod rama, with an uplifted hand. Our rabbis explained that this means they left with confidence and dignity, unafraid of their oppressors. One of the pivotal teachings that the Rebbe inculcated within all of his Chassidim is Al Yevosh Mipnei Hamaligim. Do not be embarrassed by those who mock you. Striving to build your relationship with God is akin to living in Egypt and striving for redemption. You will encounter insults, ridicule, and attempts to undermine your faith. It's essential to recognize these challenges for what they are, signs of your success, so we respond with confidence. The Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya chapter 28 that when you experience foreign thoughts during davening, during prayer, do not despair or think that your prayers are lacking. On the contrary, he writes, these distractions arise precisely because your prayers are powerful and effective. The evil inclination feels threatened and intensifies its efforts to disrupt you. As Jews, we must not be intimidated by detractors and mockers. They are merely agents of the evil inclination at that time. We must maintain a yod rama, an uplifted hand, symbolizing our unwavering faith and confidence. This resilience was recently tested in the aftermath of the October 7th massacre. Many people took to the streets to protest against Israel's responsibility to respond with force to root out the surrounding terror. In certain environments, Jews were made to feel unaccepted. However, we must not allow this modern iteration of Egyptian darkness to intimidate us. Instead, we must stand firm with a yod rama. Last week, we read how God instructed the Jews before leaving Egypt to ask the Egyptians for their gold and silver. The precise words were, "Speak to Israel, and each man shall ask his friend and each woman her friend for gold and silver." The obvious question is, why does the verse refer to the Egyptians as our friends? They were our enemies, our tormentors, enslaving us for generations. How can the verse call them friends? One way to understand this is that during the last few plagues, many Egyptians realized that their time was nearing its end, and the Jews were on the rise. They sensed that the tide was turning in the favor of the Jewish people. Pharaoh's iron fist was about to be busted open. In a last-ditch effort, many Egyptians became friends with their local fellow Jews. Similarly, towards the end of the Holocaust, many survivors recounted that as the Allies were gaining ground and the defeat of the Nazis seemed imminent, some German soldiers and SS officers began to change their behavior. These oppressors, sensing the shift in power and fearing retribution, sought to find favor with their captives by offering small acts of kindness or assistance. These acts were driven by self-preservation rather than genuine remorse, but they did provide some relief to suffering victims. In a different vein, but with a similar concept, we saw a comparable phenomenon during the last presidential election. Some of the nation's wealthiest individuals who had previously opposed President Trump began to support his re-election efforts. Notable donors, including the owners of Amazon, Meta, and Google, names like Bezos, Zuckerberg, and Page, people who previously had said very not nice things about Mr. Trump, but now they contributed significant amounts of money to his inaugural fund because they recognized the changing political landscape and the potential benefits of aligning with the prevailing power. So they shifted their stance to secure their own interests. We must remember that we have a godly mission to transform this world into a place where all recognize it as Almighty God's dwelling place. To do this, we have to be wild in a good way. We have to buck the trends and enter into a space called shtus dikdusha, holy foolishness. Naturally, in the beginning, those around us may think we're nuts. They'll call us names. They may interfere, but we won't stop. We should march forward on our journey with confidence, with a yod rama. Eventually, they will all realize their mistake, and just as in Egypt, the closer we get to the redemption, They will attempt to cozy up and befriend the Jewish people. So let us all be inspired. Let us continue with confidence and strength, knowing that our success is a testament to our eternal people. I wish you a good Shabbos.